All right. Good afternoon and good morning, everybody. Welcome to the 23rd edition, almost 2 years of Success Spotlight. Been a long time that we've been doing this, so super excited for all of you to join us. And thank you for taking time out of either your mornings or your afternoons to join us and to learn a little bit more about how you can really, I suppose, get a good hiring crunch in here in the last couple of days of the year and, of course, heading into the new year. But my name, of course, is Nolan Duda. I'm the Client Experience Manager for IdealTraits. And joined with us today, we have Jeff Wallace. So Jeff started his insurance career back in 2009 as a life insurance agent, joined a Allstate team as a producing agent for an agency back in 2018, and then started his path as being an agency owner in 2022. So since Jeff has taken over, they now have added a second location to that operation and 6 employees in total, 3 producers in the office, 3 outside producers. And since then, I've also achieved a couple of awards, including the Allstate Honor Ring, as well as National Summit Awards, generally awards that are provided to prestigious agencies that are providing, obviously, a high level of client service, as well as growing in the right direction. So, of course, Jeff is a devoted husband, as well as has 3 kids. But then outside of running his agency and being with his family, enjoys golfing, bowling, playing the drums, and is a devoted sports fan. He told me to leave out the team, though. So I'll leave that for him to share where he pledges his allegiance in terms of the NFL. But Jeff, appreciates you for joining the program. And I know we first met at Midwest Agent Forum, as we were just talking back in, what is that, hosted in February in Chicago. And, here we are a couple months later. So again, appreciate you for being here.
Yeah, happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Of course, man. All right. Well, as we start generally every Success Spotlight episode, I gave, of course, a little bit of an introduction to your story. Of course, being a life insurance agent in 2009, and then joining the Allstate family in 2018, and then, of course, starting your own agency in 22. But I'm sure that there's more to that story and sort of your thought process of why you got into life insurance and then why you made the switch to being an employee at an Allstate agency. So if you want to give a little bit more context to that, I think that our listeners would really appreciate it.
Sure, don't mind at all. So, yeah, I started back in with life insurance in 2009, as Nolan said, but the reason was really from a personal loss that I had that paid out a nice life insurance claim, and without that, I probably wouldn't have been able to really even pay bills or get through that time. So I saw the need. I was at a young age, and it really helped me at that time get through the bills, pay off some debts, and just stay on my feet. So I also saw there were a lot of young people in our community that I knew that probably didn't know the importance of life insurance or insurance in general. And I really wanted to make sure everybody heard my story and knew that, hey, this can happen to you as well, and make sure they're protected. So I think I just saw it as an importance and a career that I really wanted to get in, just because I was passionate about it and something that I cared about. So did that for 8 years. Really enjoyed it. I managed 2 different offices there with that, but it was long hours. I mean, I was waking up at 6 a.m., traveling, going door to door for appointments, getting home some nights 10, 11 in the evening. So end up, once you get a family, that you can't really have that schedule. So I was looking for something where I could be kind of more of my own boss, kind of have some more set hours. Not that I wasn't willing to work later, but not every night, right? So actually got approached by an Allstate recruiter in 2018 to start as they called it a BDA. It was a BDA program, a business development associate. So I was basically an employee Allstate agent. So I had my own office still, but it was just me and a virtual team that kind of did the service for me. And then in 2022, took it over as an EA when that program dissolved. So that's when I kind of started hiring and building my team from there. But yeah, it's been a great fit for me and for my family, and I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. And you hear, of course, with me doing that, hosting Success Spotlight specifically, but then of course working with agents, over the last 7 years, I've heard a lot of different stories about how people originally got into insurance, and I think that's a pretty touching one, right? Something that, of course, happened pretty near and dear to you, it sounds like, and then, obviously prompted it to be like, I want to help more people like get protected like this, essentially, right?
Yep,
Is that
sure.
a fair understanding of how that sort of all went?
Oh yeah, no, that's exactly how it went. Yeah, for sure.
I got you. All right. Outstanding. And then, 2018, enrolling in that program. And then, of course, starting as an EA in 2022, you had mentioned it at the beginning, you started hiring your staff and scaling your team. I mean, we've had a couple of Success Spotlight guests that are a little bit more methodical with their approach in terms of like really understanding the numbers and making sure that they're doing it at the right time. And other people are just like, I mean, if I'm not hiring people, I'm not growing. And they just know that that's, more of something that they have to do in order to move into the right direction. So I'm sure, as you started doing that in 22 and as you've learned throughout the years to where you're at now, I mean, how do you decide when you need to hire somebody on?
Yeah, it's kind of evolved over the years. I would say early on, I was more of the type that I would just hire somebody and to have in the office and kind of work side by side. I was so used to working by myself that I didn't really know how many I needed or what that staff needed to look like, what the mix needed to look like. So I just kind of reached out to personal market and family friends, and went that route and found a couple people early on, but it wasn't by any means like methodical or by the numbers. Um, I think I've learned from that. I wish I could go back and kind of change that early on and been more aggressive, with those early on contracts. But we were fine and we were getting by. And but now, I am very much kind of by the numbers. I hire based on need and growth. I know what our sales numbers are. I know how many quotes we need to get that. I know what our closing percentage is, and how many employees we need to hit that on the sales side. And on the service side, I know how many inbound calls I want each front want to take. I like each inside person not have more than 15 inbound calls a day. If it starts to be more than that, that's why I need somebody else. And I would say typically that's anywhere from, it's probably around 2.5 million of premium, roughly, is what I'm seeing per service person, that we need to add. So definitely more by the numbers now, but I'm more aggressive with hiring now than I ever have been. Purchased a couple agencies, as you know, back in June, and I got behind the eight ball there. I thought I was going to be fine with the number of people I had, and realized pretty quickly that I didn't have enough. But there's a tail there to bring in those people on, that I didn't get caught up with soon enough. So now I've always got a pipeline built up to where the next person should be ready when we need them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that it's just an informed decision, and I'm sure you're not waiting to the last minute to obviously hire somebody on, right? Like you see this trend sort of establishing to where it's getting more than 15, as you had mentioned, and you're being proactive about that process. I mean, I'm sure we'll talk about it at some point, but of course, with your story, you hired 4 people like in the last month and a half, right? And I looked into your account. You still have a job ad posted, like as in a passive sense, right? So, um, I we'll get back to that because I think that's a little jumping ahead, me jumping the gun a little bit. But I'm sure, obviously, again, we'll get back to how you think about that process and why you do that. But it took a little bit for I think you to start using IdealTraits. I think it's new to you this year, right? Like this is the first year of you using it. Does that sound right?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
I started, I think, right at the beginning of the year, right before we met. So I've been roughly right at a full year with you guys.
yeah, because I remember at Midwest Agent Forum, you're like, I've been using this for a month and I should have been using it longer, in terms of what you were able to get out of it. But from a job ad perspective, that's usually where the process will begin, right? Because of course, Ideal Traits provides a lot of great resources, the assessment, the texting features, the video interviewing, the automated workflows, and Pulse on sort of the back end of it. But really, those things don't necessarily become important until you start getting candidates in the door, right? So
Correct. Yeah.
in terms of creating your job ad, right? You're new to Ideal Traits in January or February of this year. And it doesn't have to be necessarily anything crazy, but as you were putting together those job ads, I guess what was important to you to make sure that you were able to get the candidate volume to where you receive, 45 applications like you did just a month or two ago?
Yeah, the biggest thing for me is just making it stand out from your competitors, making it attractive. Uh, I want somebody to see my job ad and just kind of have a clear picture of what it would be like to work in our agency and be able to picture themselves working there, and if that's something they would enjoy. Um, I try to, really highlight our agency success, because I want to bring on people that want to be part of that success and want to help us grow towards, that same goal. But yeah, I just want them to look at that and it stand out from any other job ad they've seen and then really want to apply.
Makes sense, right? I mean, you got to speak towards what people are passionate about and sort of grab their attention. I think the statistic is the average time that someone looks at a job ad on Indeed, for instance, is like 15 seconds, right? So obviously putting in those things that are attractive will certainly grab their attention and move them on to the next step. We mentioned at the beginning, 6 employees, 3 of them outside, 3 of them inside. So is there any part, I mean, it sounds like there is, but from a remote standpoint, how do you feel about remote hiring? Do you have a preference there? And how did you get to a point where you were comfortable with hiring remote employees?
Yeah. So my inside and outside, just because they're outside, they just work leads. That doesn't mean they're not in the office.
Sure.
But I have one team member right now that's an outside, that actually is remote. And I've just gotten to a point where I'm comfortable with doing that. Hired her, I think it's been 2-3 months now ago. But I know it's kind of where everything's going, and opens you up to a lot bigger pool of people, a lot bigger talent pool, a lot more options. And in this case, it opens us up for another couple hours, because she's on the West Coast. That she can, even though our office is open till 5 here, that she's open till 5 her time, but it's 7 our time. So it's a couple extra hours that we can be open. So I was scared to kind of, I think, hire my first one, because I've heard some horror stories, but I've also heard the success. And in this case, it's been a big success. I mean, she just came off on Monday writing 17 items just herself. So I'm definitely very happy that we made the leap to hire in remote.
Yeah. And that was just I mean, I hope I heard you correct. 17 items in a day.
A day. Yeah, a day. Yeah. That actually set our agency record for an individual for a day. And she's been here 2 months. So I think we got some pretty cool systems and processes in place where I'm going to keep hiring remote moving forward. I just think you can be a lot more picky with remote, and not just settle for somebody because they're close.
Yeah. How many items do you think, if you had to guess, that she's going to write this month? What do you say?
She's on pace right now for 65. That was definitely a high day. But being December, I'm still happy with that, because it's not the easiest month to write ever.
I mean, 65 items. Imagine if you weren't open to remote.
Right. I mean, yeah, it would definitely be putting a hurt on us this month if we didn't have her, for sure.
Yeah, it's awesome. And I totally agree. I've just heard, I mean, of course, there's the not so successful stories, right? And when you're talking about working with people, those things are just unfortunately going to happen, right? Because there's no guarantee in working with people. But a story like that, where you were able to hire a remote employee, and in her second month, she's writing 65 items, like that is awesome. And that, again, without offering that, you wouldn't have those items. Of course, I'm sure you would have hired another in-office person to work there in Kentucky, but who's to know what type of results that they're going to put out. But nonetheless, awesome. Congratulations on that. So do you typically hire people already licensed? Do you help people get licensed? A lot of folks that are on here today, of course, it's the same thing with remote, right? Like, I've heard success in hiring only licensed people, success in not hiring licensed people. It just usually seems like a toss-up. But in your experience, do you have a preference there?
Yeah. So in my experience, I would say we've always hired licensed or helped them get their license. Typically, we'll sponsor their course. We'll have them pay for it, but if once they pass, we'll reimburse that. But I am starting a position where I'm open to hiring somebody unlicensed to come in basically as a telemarketer for us and be working on a license while they get that. So that's something we're looking at going into the beginning of this year. just to give our outside team some support with some calls and also give them some phone experience. So by the time they're licensed, they'll be ready to go. But it's not something we've done yet, but it's just something we're getting ready to roll out.
Very nice. And I love that. Bringing in some support just to drive some leads to your sales team, it always helps them out, right? And that helps keep top performers too as well when they're getting leads that are driven to them. So really cool. In terms of posting, do you ever sponsor your job ad? That's another thing that, again, this is our 23rd Success Spotlight. I would say it's probably like 60-40 people do, people don't. But have you ever dabbled it, or I guess dove into sponsoring your job ad before?
Not yet. We've talked through it. But I guess I just haven't had the need. Luckily, I've had fairly good success without it.
Yeah.
But I would do it in a heartbeat if I needed to. No problem.
No problem. Yeah. And I mean, again, like I said, the job ad that I saw that was expired from about a month or 2 months ago, I mean, you received 45 applications. So, and that was enough for you to be able to hire, 3 people from that, as we'll talk about. But all right, cool. And then all right, so the job ad's been posted. You're starting to receive candidates that are coming in. And then, of course, as we all know, the first thing that takes place is they get sent the assessment. So talk about a little bit about how you use the assessment in your hiring process. Are there specific personalities that you look for? I will tell you, Jeff, that a little bit of an inside joke between people that regularly attend Success Spotlight is that the persistent is the best personality, no matter what you're hiring for, of course. But nonetheless, to you, what do you look for in those personality results, and how do you use it to determine who you're going to bring on and who you don't?
Yeah, I've hired some persistence as well. I like that one. But for sales, obviously, you can find the salesperson, sales leader, closer, those type of roles is what I'm looking for my salespeople.
Mm-hmm.
Service people, I've had pretty good success with. Knowledgeable, nurturer. Those are all good too. I don't look at the assessment as like a rigid thing, though. It's not like if they're one particular one, I'm just going to rule them out. It just kind of gives me an overview before I talk to them or even look at them any farther of what their personality's like. I do think sometimes people just are nervous when they're answering those questions, and maybe it's just not the best assessment taker or anything. So I hate to pass on somebody that could have been a good option. So, but I do look at it. For me, I think the most telling thing is using the video interview. Because you get to see them, watch them answer questions. I really like that side of it before I actually talk to them.
Yeah, I mean, being able to really see and hear them before you bring them in. I mean, I'm sure we'll talk more about this, but candidates just not showing up or showing up unqualified is such an epidemic these days, right? But in terms of the assessment, to sort of go back to that, I couldn't agree with you more, right? Like, it is a piece to the puzzle, right? So having their assessment allows you to have a better understanding of their strengths and weaknesses and where they can fit into your office and all that good stuff. But at the end of the day, if you don't have a good gut feeling about it, it's probably not going to work out, right? No matter what you do, or no matter what type of assessment result they have. So just because someone is a sales leader does not guarantee that they're going to be your next best producer selling 65 items a month, right? It takes more than that. And the assessment is used to just give you a little bit more reassurance before making that hiring decision. So totally agree. And then the video interview you had mentioned. So of course, I'm sure you split those processes up, right? Like, they take the assessment and then you see you see that they've completed it, and then you reach out with the video interview. So Indeed came out with a statistic last month in their partner webinar that said the chances that you connect with someone within 60 seconds of them applying is 85%. And then if you wait 15 minutes, the chances of you connecting with them goes all the way down to 35%, which is crazy, right? So you lose that 50% connection rate just in the matter of 15 minutes. So I can't remember, Jeff, if you were reaching out to the candidates yourself and if you were calling or emailing and texting them, or how that worked for you.
So before I used the hiring assistant, yeah, it was me. I was just doing it myself. And I was trying to call, and if I didn't get them right away, I was texting right away, as soon as I could. I mean, I've got it on my phone, and if it buzzed through, I'd call them right from my cell phone, even if it was after hours. just for the reason you said. I want to have that first interaction. I mean, odds are if they're on there applying, they're probably applying for other positions too. So I want to be one of the first ones to touch them and really make an impression.
And I mean, for the folks that are listening, hopefully you didn't miss that statistic. Your chance of connecting with the candidate within 60 seconds is 85% of them applying. So if you reach out to them within 60 seconds of them applying, connection is 85%. If you wait just 15 minutes, it goes down to 35, right? And then again, that could be for a couple of different reasons. Maybe we're not diversifying the way that we're reaching candidates in a traditional recruiting process, or maybe it's because they're applying to so many different jobs that you get lost in the shuffle. But to Jeff's point, he was using the virtual hiring assistant program, and it seems as if before you started using that, Jeff, you had a pretty good pulse on on reaching out to the candidates, right? You prioritized it. You saw the email come in, you looked at the resume, and then you called, right? Very quickly. But I assume that your move from doing it yourself to the virtual hiring assistant was not more in the need, or more in just you didn't want to do it, or maybe it was, but I'm sure it was more of giving yourself back that time, right? Does that sound right? If you want to explain a little bit more about why you decided to use the virtual hiring assistant program in general.
So when I started using the virtual hiring assistant, I needed the hires. It was kind of right after I had purchased the books, and it was more so, hey, we've got to get some people in here pretty quickly. It wasn't for a reason of me not wanting to do it. It was more so to get my time back so I could concentrate on my team and other things as well. But what I was doing before was I was reaching out quickly, as I mentioned, but I wasn't doing any ongoing follow-up. Whereas the team was still trying to reaching out to them after that first point of contact if they didn't get them. So that was the attractive piece to me, that we would get some assessments completed even after that initial call maybe failed or I didn't get through.
Yeah. And I mean, the more people you have completing the assessment, the more people that are making their way through the video interview, just the more options that you have, quite frankly, right? So as you progress through, I mean, you talked about it a little bit as you saw sort of an increase in completions. What did you feel like as a whole throughout that process, that you were able to review more candidates than you were before, or did you feel it's about the same?
I was definitely able to review more. The more assessments completed, I wouldn't even look at somebody if they wouldn't complete an assessment. I feel like it's your first task you're asking them to complete, and if they couldn't get that done, then it wasn't somebody I was interested in.
Sure.
I want somebody that wants to be with our agency and is aggressive on coming on. So same thing with the virtual hiring assistant. If they reached out and they couldn't get them to an assessment, then it wasn't somebody I tried beyond that either. It kind of tells you a lot about that person right off the bat.
Yeah. And for clarification, for those that are listening, that are like, what are they talking about? Like, what is the virtual hiring assistant program? So it is an add-on to your IdealTraits account. Well, they're going to do a number of different things, but the one that we're talking about specifically right now is where they will call, email, and text the candidates for you to get them to complete the assessment, and then call, email, and text them to get them to complete the video interview. So using both of those tools, and then the candidate gets sent back to you for you to review. So, I mean, Jeff, for you talked a little bit about the importance of the video interview before, but you had mentioned it being sort of a game changer. So if you wanted to, I suppose, give a little bit more insight into why you found that to be beneficial based off of your experience in recruiting throughout the year by yourself, without the VHA add-on.
Yeah, I think it just gives you a more insight to each candidate on, how they're going to present themselves, how they answer questions. They're not just giving you one-word answers. They're really thinking through each question and really giving you a thorough answer. I think they have like 2 minutes to answer each one. You don't want somebody who's just going to give a 5-10 second answer to a question and then move on just to complete a task. I'm looking for somebody that's trying to sell themselves, right off the bat. So if we're going to a sales position, sell me on why you should be with us. And that's kind of how I use that interview, that video interview, as they're trying to sell me at this point. And if they pass that, then that's when I would move on to the next step with them.
I gotcha. And you were on the program for a month, 2 months. How long was it?
2 months, really 1 month active, where I really needed it. The second month, I'd already kind of paused my hiring a little bit just to kind of develop people I've hired. But 1 or 2 months.
And then throughout that, I mean, we talked about it yesterday, but was it 3 or 4 people that you were able to hire really in that 1 month of being aggressive with your hiring?
Month it was 3. Yeah, I think four over the span of a couple. Yeah.
Gotcha. There you go, folks. Right? Like,
Yep.
obviously, as Jeff had mentioned, needed to hire people, needed to get more butts in seats, and subscribe to the virtual hiring assistant program to really put a lot of those things back on us to get more candidates through the funnel. And then through that process is able to hire 3 people in a month through the program. Right. And that was it's $5.99 a month for that. Right. So you got 3 hires for the $5.99 a month add-on. Right. I mean,
Well, and that was a big selling point for me too, is the fact that you can start and stop them as you please. Like, it wasn't, you got to sign a year commitment with a virtual hiring assistant. It's like, I only need them for 2 months, and that's all I got them for. So, when I need a quick hire again, I would, start them back up in a heartbeat.
Very cool. Well, I might have a little bit of a promo for the folks that are on here today at the end for them to potentially enroll in the VHA. So we'll go through that at the end though, Jeff. But for those of you listening, stick around, because they might be an opportunity for you to enroll in the same program that Jeff was using to hire 3 people in a month for a little bit of a discounted rate. But again, got to stick around to the end. So, all right, they've transitioned through the assessment. We went through that and sort of what you're looking for, and then the importance of the video interview as well as the candidate communication. But now they sort of transition into your traditional recruiting process, right? So for Success Spotlight guests, we heard Jason Kilgo about 1.5 years ago talk about how he gives them a pamphlet to a fake bike company, and then he has them read it for 15 minutes, and then he has them try to sell him a bike, right? We heard Jeremy Olson talk about how he tells them to write him a paragraph about why they want to work at his agency after that first interview. And we've even heard people like Drew Hodgson say that he takes people to dinner to see how they interact in public and with the service staff and all that different stuff. So it can be something out of the box like that, Jeff, or it could be something super traditional, like, hey, I just bring them into my office, ask a little questions. But want to hear from you. Is it after that video interview is complete, do you have like a couple more steps to go through, or is it bring it to your office for a traditional interview? How does it typically work?
So I don't have anything cool like Olson and the other guys, unfortunately. But mine's more traditional. But it's not. I've moved from in-office interviews to virtual interviews. Like, I just use the Ring Central video interviews for that. So the first one's kind of me, interviewing them, seeing if I want to move forward. Then if I like them, I will do one more. The second one's kind of just going over our contract, our pay, our expectations. Then from there, we'll bring them in for an offer letter. If we get through both of those and we want to proceed.
Excellent. Yeah. Seems pretty tried and true, right?
Yep. It's worked so far. So if it's not broke, don't fix it. So
yeah, absolutely. Do you solicit, like, in terms of feedback from your existing team? Like, do you have a couple of people on the team? Maybe it's all 6 of them, or maybe just 1 or 2 of them that you lean on to sort of get a second opinion to as well?
So I don't currently. It's something I've considered doing. I have 1 or 2 that I would probably want to ask opinions on. But I don't currently know.
No, comes down the line, right? As they get a little bit more experience and build a little bit more trust. Makes total sense, right? You get those things work in phases, right? Like, they just don't happen overnight. So it makes sense. All right. And then obviously you go through that process, you extend the offer letter to someone, and then really the next step after that, in terms of a hiring process, is arguably the hardest to me, which is you've hired the good person, now you have to keep them, right? Which is really a challenge every single day, because if you get complacent on that, then it typically can go the opposite direction, right? But for you, what is that 90 day? I mean, 90 days might be a little bit too long, but like the first couple of weeks with them in the agency, is there a lot of hands-on training? Do you go through any third-party training organizations just to help support them and obviously train them with your talk pass and things? Or how do you, of course, just sort of craft them into where you want them to be so they can sell 65 items in a month like your remote employee?
Yeah, so we've got kind of a 6-week onboarding kind of written out plan that we try to follow. It has a mix of the Allstate University training that they have to do for buying authority. We use RPOA with Jeremy and his team. We have them go through their first 30 videos, and then a lot of it is hands-on, just one-on-one coaching. Have a couple of team members here that they'll kind of job shadow for a few days as well. Watch them on quotes, watch them on calls, take some notes, and then we get them on the phones. But yeah, but it's kind of lined out for their first 6 weeks or so of everything they'll do between product training and skill training.
Yeah. And then I assume that you have a pretty consistent compensation plan that's built. So if you're comfortable with really talking about that a little bit in terms of building that out and making it to where you feel as if it's attractive to be able to bring in top talent, I guess, how did you go about building the comp plan to be competitive,
No, it's a good question. It's something that I'm still kind of working on and tweaking always, I think. We've kind of had to tweak it in the past couple of years when we've got our comp plans. I like for them to kind of match up with how the agency's getting paid. So, we can maximize the agency and the employees or team members checks as well. But we want it to be attractive on the salary side. But I'm more so, I want it to be the uncapped commission is the really attractive part. And both the inside and the outside team have uncapped commission plans with what I feel like is a fair salary too. But yeah, just being unlimited, and our comp plan really awards the top performers. I do a tier system, and it's all item based. But the more items you write, the more a higher percentage you make on commissions, and yeah, no cap on that. So I'm trying to attract those people that say, well, I know I'm going to work harder than the next person. I'm going to be that top performer. So I don't care if maybe I have a little bit of a lower salary because I want the uncapped opportunity with the commissions.
Makes total sense. And two folks, for those of you that are listening, if you guys do have questions for Jeff here as we start getting to the last 10 to 15 minutes, if you want to use that Q&A section, if there's something that you're wondering or you want to know a little bit more about that's been mentioned, get in that Q&A, because if you have a question, there's most likely someone else has the same question too. But on that point, Jeff, I mean, this question has gained a variety of different answers because we've had guests that have been agents for 30 years to 6 months, right? And to, of course, you over the last 3 going on 4 years. But what is one thing that you do in your recruiting process today that you wish you would have done sooner? If we think back to 2022 when you were first starting out as an EA.
Probably a couple things. I would say the biggest thing is just don't stop. Even when you think you're at your number of hires you need to be, always have people in the, on deck or getting ready to come on, and keep them excited, keep them engaged. If you're not ready for them right now, just let them know that their time's coming, and always be recruiting, because you never know when you're going to lose one, and you don't want to have 2 or 3 months before you can get them replaced. I've learned that kind of the hard way. Even when you don't think you're going to lose somebody, it seems like it always tends to happen, and then you're kind of sitting there just waiting to play catch up. That's a big one. And then I would say just be aggressive with recruiting. It's probably the hardest part of what we do, in my opinion. I mean, we can sell all day, but recruiting and hiring and training is probably the hardest piece of what we do. So treat it like that. Give it the time, give it the attention that it deserves, for sure.
Yeah. That's a really good points, right? The always be recruiting. I think a lot of people, their interpretation of that is that it's going to be really, really time consuming, right? Which is usually what holds them back from participating in it. So from your viewpoint, someone who would obviously recommend doing so, do you feel as if, like, with the always be recruiting mentality, that it just completely sucks up time out of your day? Or have you gotten to a point where it's super streamlined and efficient?
Not anymore. I used to feel like so overwhelmed with I don't even want to start, because it's going to take my whole day. Now I can go in there and make a posting or adjust a posting, or maybe reach out to a few assessments, and I can maybe take an hour a day, and sometimes not even that much. But yeah, it's not a time consuming piece at all if you've got it set up right.
Yeah. And I mean, there's some people that, similar probably to yourself, Jeff, that talk about always be recruiting, where you're pretty diligent about it. And then we've seen it on this program where they'll be like, always be recruiting. And it was Joshua Arnold. And he said, if I don't have 15 interviews a week, it's not a successful week. Right. So I mean, there's different levels to always be recruiting, most definitely. Right. But the important part is that if long-term consistency is always going to beat short-term intensity. Like that is just the way that it works every time. Right. The same way with quote volume, the same way with everything else. Right. Like if you build a long-term consistent approach, it's always going to work out for you in the end. And there's also a John Wooden quote that I think applies really directly to recruiting. And it's, you don't have time to do it the first time. When are you going to have time to do it again? Right. So a lot of times it to Jeff's point, right, you heard it here, it does take that upfront investment and sort of figuring it out and getting your hands dirty and maybe cause some frustrations too as well. But then you get to a point where hopefully it provides you with some success. Right. So I think that's a really good adage. And in terms of being aggressive, Jeff, you mentioned that as sort of your second point. Are you pointing towards that from a time perspective or from a financial standpoint or from a resource standpoint, or is it really all three of those things that you would recommend sort of being more aggressive with today in your recruiting?
Yeah. With me, it's never been really financially aggressive because I haven't had to invest a ton of money.
Sure.
It's more so been just being direct and meaningful with what you do day in, day out. Like you mentioned, 15 a week as far as interviews go. Like when I'm actively hiring and recruiting, I would say I'm trying to have 7 or 8 a week. But I'm doing maybe one a day right now when I'm not.
Yeah.
So just making sure and developing some time each day towards it. I think, and just not putting it in the back of your mind and just forgetting about it. Because I think that's the tendency. And then you think about recruiting again when you lose somebody or you need somebody, then it's too late.
Yeah. Really good point. Yeah. All right. Very cool. Well, I do have one last question, Jeff, that you probably saw on the sheet that, I asked every single Success Spotlight guest that sort of overlaps on probably what we just talked about too as well. But real quick, before we get to that, I did mention earlier that we do have a virtual hiring assistant promotion. So I did get Faith to do this. So if you're looking to tell thank you to anybody, the person that you need to say thank you to is Faith. But of course, again, the virtual hiring assistant program that we talked about is the one that Jeff participated in, did it for 2 months and really did it aggressively for one, and was able to hire 3 people within that month's time through the program and be able to make that happen. So I'll go ahead and share my screen and talk a little bit about what this program looks like typically. So as I had mentioned, it is an add-on to the IdealTraits account. So for pretty much everybody that's on this call today, you are going to already have an active IdealTraits account, which is a good first step. Now, with the program, it typically comes with a startup fee that covers job market research that we'll do for you, as well as custom job ads. And then the monthly fee, which is the $5.99 we talked about earlier, is where Faith, Keegan, and their team will work up to 250 candidates for you a month. So through that program, again, they will call, email, and text the candidates for you in order to get them to complete the assessment. And then we will call, email, and text them to get them to complete the video interview. Once they've completed the video interview, the candidate then gets sent back to you for you to review their resume, their pre-qualifying questions, their assessment result, and their video interview. And at which point, too, as well, you can actually go through the candidate information with either Faith or Keegan, depending on which consultant you get assigned to. So Faith decided to do a promotion for the month of December to where we can cut the startup fee in half. So instead of it going being $5.98, it goes down to $2.98. And for your monthly installment, it goes from $5.99 to $4.99. Okay. So that promotion is available for the rest of the year. But for those of you that give me a call today, maybe I'll add in a little bit extra off of the top too as well, but you have to call in order to find out. So I did just put my number in the Q&A section. So if you are interested in working to get the same results that Jeff was able to get with that program in 30 to 60 days, give us a call, try it out, and we'll work to obviously deliver the same to you. But Jeff, for Success Spotlight guests, we always ask, hey, what's the one piece of advice that you would offer to any agent who's looking to start their recruiting process today? I know you mentioned always be recruiting. I know you mentioned to be aggressive, but for someone who's sort of struggling to get off of, jump off the ship, right, to really get their feet wet and sort of dive in because they feel as if it's going to take too much time or whatnot, what is one thing that you would give them advice on that would help them be successful as they start their process to hiring more people today?
Yeah, it's kind of reiterating some things that I already said, but
Sure.
it in my opinion, and this is not just to be a plug, but I would start with IdealTraits, and that's what's been good for me. It's the only recruiting piece that I use right now outside of my personal market and social media. I still do use that, but more than anything, I would say just start. Um, it's really a really simple process to get up and running, and their reps are really good with helping you create the ads and make them what's going to be attractive and kind of talk through what you're looking for. And I know it's been a game changer for me just to be able to kind of have more of a hands-off approach to the recruiting once it's up. I'm not actively having to go out and search Indeed or try to pull resumes and just to see if anybody's interested. This is more kind of, you put that posting up there and they come to you. Then you get to pick them from there. So just start, give it a chance, and see how it goes. And I think if you work it, you'll find success from it.
Yeah. And just know too, once you get started, there are people that are here to help you, right? Whether it's
Yeah.
us at Ideal Traits, or if you have market leaders or district managers or mentors, they're there to help you, right? So jump right in. You're going to have some support system, whether it's here with us at Ideal Traits or again within your specific Shield family or just mentors that you have within the industry. Hiring is oftentimes the most challenging thing that can be done within a business, and it certainly takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of money, but it can be, of course, again, the greatest investment that you make that can create the greatest return for you. All right. So Jeff, again, is our 23rd guest. Again, we're coming up on our 2-year anniversary next month. I have had the pleasure of being able to host this with so many great agents like yourself. So I know that you're incredibly busy and you have a lot of things to accomplish here at the end of the month as you round out the year. But again, incredibly grateful for the time that you've given to Success Spotlight and to the folks that have been here listening. I know that it'll be incredibly valuable to them as they work to, again, supercharge their offices in the next year. So again, just wanted to give a heartfelt thank you to you.
Awesome. Thanks, Nolan. Thanks for having me. It's been a good time.
Of course. Have a Merry Christmas, everyone. Have a Happy New Year. We will have our 24th, our 2-year anniversary of Success Spotlight on January 13th at 2:00 Eastern Standard Time, as we always do, with our first guest out of the great state of Utah. So we're going to Utah for the first time. So appreciate you all for joining here. And again, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. And we'll see you guys all in January. Thanks again, Jeff. See you guys.
See you.